your game last week, um, I can't believe how well the girls played. You've been tracking passes, and I think you outpassed that team about 48-10 or something. But the one goal you described, talking about triangulation behind the net, it was incredible. So could you describe that?
Well, it was just we got the puck in deep and went east to west behind the net and right to a player in front that was in the net. And Cassie had talked about playing in triangles before that. And that's one thing we found out with how the girls they love to touch stick handle about 3 times, get the puck way back and shoot. They shoot it over the net so often because they just want to get it high. So we're working on doing that after the initial rush, getting the puck behind. And our last practice, Cassie showed them shoot off the inside foot with a snap down. They were with no dust. And we played games with no dust the last practice. And Jim went over the offensive triangle, just the old offensive triangle, just so they got this concept. And tonight I'm going to, after the initial rush, I want them going east to west behind the net and the F3 mirroring and, the first passer step out far post, the weak side D jump up to the other side. And I think that might solve our goal scoring problem because we outplay everybody. We don't outscore everybody. Just so that they get the puck and they shoot it without dusting it off 25 times first. And so we scored 5 goals the last game, which is incredible for us. The game before we dominated, we outshot them about 30-15, and we were leading 1-0, and they scored with 2 seconds left, and our goalie was brokenhearted. She lost her shutout. Because it's another game, they scored with 12 seconds left, and she lost her shutout. But so just trying to figure out a way that they can actually score goals. The triangle and mirroring the puck and all these concepts that we all try to get across to the players. So, anybody got ideas about girls' goal scoring?
I think all the quick release stuff you can do is it's the way forward. The more they can master that, the better. Try to convince them that it's not, especially, generally speaking, in the female game, most of the goals come within 15 feet of the net. So it's not how hard you shoot. It's more about how quickly you can release it to beat the goalies.
Yeah, Cassie's going to play botch-go, the 2-touch game with them tonight, and see if they can catch on to it. It'd be interesting to see.
I was just going to ask you if you've done that, because we used to do it regularly with Danielle at the university, and it was really fantastic. And I went out to Vancouver 1 year to, and I was on the ice practice with the Vancouver Comets. Mark Taylor was their coach. He's a good friend from the old hockey days, and they're a pretty skilled team. But we did it at practice with them, and they caught on pretty quickly. I found it was helpful to get them going. Like when you explain the game that you can only touch it twice, then you have to pass it, shoot it. To get them going, I would sort of cruise around and yell 1, 2 every time a player got the puck to help them get the idea. But it didn't take much of that. And then we used to always tell the girls at U of C that, the keys in it are to move your feet. As soon as you touch the puck, move your feet. And then as you're moving your feet, if you can move the puck, move it. So move your feet, move the puck. And then the third thing kind of was protect the puck if you can or if you have to. And the fourth part was move to get open. That's the most important piece with the two-touch botchko is that I loved about it when I first did it with Thomas Pacina was it really puts a lot of pressure and emphasis on the off puck players to get open for the puck carrier because they know sooner or later she's going to get into trouble, and she won't have any touches of the puck left. So go ahead, Wally. Your mic's off, Wally.
Thomas and I watched their pro teams play this botchko, and I want Hal, Peter, and Jordan. I don't know if you've actually done the progression, but I don't start with two-touch because the concept of botchko, they stay out after a game, maybe 6 guys, and they play cross ice 3-on-3. But you can only score off a pass. You can't carry it and score. That means you can handle it, buy time and space. You can't shoot it when you're carrying it. You got to just one-time release. The next stage is two-touch. The first stage of being able to carry it and get open, allowing them to handle it, is pivotal to the drill working, moving up the ladder. Now, in two-touch, they have to keep it on their forehand side and try to protect it and get moving and looking. The receiver has to get open. They know that person is looking for them. So those 2 stages are critical. And I thought Hal and Peter and Jordan, if you haven't experimented with that game, it is one of those light bulb moment changing games where they have to pass. Not about toe dragging and trying to score yourself. And that's the biggest problem I think we face with all these individual skilled people working with these kids. They can toe drag so well, they can't play the game. So, Hal, go ahead.
Now, we use a variation. I don't know if I heard it from you guys or what, but they can only carry it for 3 seconds, and then they have to pass it because I've noticed in cross ice hockey, they'll do anything. They'll do everything they by themselves except shoot the puck. They don't. It's funny how that. So we force them to not only move the puck, and then you can only shoot off a one-timer, and we only let them play for like 35 or 40 seconds, so they've got to get off. But those are all such great drills, and everybody's involved, and sometimes we shorten it up, and we put the nets. I mean, if you think about a cross ice game, and a kid's got a puck and he's somewhere between the nets and he won't shoot it. I mean, how many goals do you score from? I know we score most of them from right in front, but my team scored a lot of goals on shots coming from the blue line, which is 50 feet away. You play cross ice and nobody wants to shoot. And so we've got to the point now where sometimes the goalie will shoot. Because they're only 30 feet away. So I encourage them to shoot the puck a lot and try to get rebounds and try to get deflections. And because I know the kids I'm coaching, they're still a little afraid of getting hit by pucks. And it's not fun, but they get used to it after a while and that kind of stuff. So anyways, those are great options, and we just kind of change them around every day, doing just try to change it up a little bit so it's not the same, so they don't get bored.
I'm anal on progressions, and I may be wrong here, but I believe that 3 seconds is, if they played score on a pass only and they get the concept, then giving them a time frame makes them hurry according to what you demand.
Oh,
So I wouldn't put in a 3-second rule until I saw they got the concept of looking and you saw players hitting the spots.
well,
And then in the 2-touch, it sort of is really out of the comfort zone because they can't handle it or they got to give up the puck
Oh.
to the other team. So, you know, I know there's 3-second games and 2-second games and whatnot, but I'm just looking to see if they're all getting the support concept of getting open. And I'm watching them play. When I saw Tom's team score a wing to wing, F1 to F2 pass behind the goal line, F3 in the slot, and scored a first goal of the game, I said, "Are you kidding me?" They see each other, they see the ice, 2 passes in a row for a goal, they get it. So everything adds up and's paid. The other thing is, and I'm going to ask Tim this. Tim, I always felt there's a time to begin stressing no dust shooting, no dust passing. And I've watched Tom's team practice no dust so much now they do it. They don't have to handle the puck. But years ago, I watched Tom with the midget team. They had to handle the puck because they were just banging it and slapping it. So this progression of when do you teach shooting off the front foot? So Tom, in this 2-on-0-1 progression, I thought when they're going the other way, I just might have them work on shooting off the front foot to score or the pad, just shooting off the front foot. But I don't like adding.
Cassie did a progression last week on that.
Yeah, but I don't like adding too many details. I'm focused on the ability to go to the net, freeze the goalie, shoot for a rebound, shoot to score or pass, play poker with the goalie. It's a hockey IQ drill, not a shoot off the front foot drill or thinking about too many things. So the art of coaching is, you know, right stuff, right amount, right time, and as Tim said, the right way. And so when I'm sitting there on the sidelines just watching everything go on, this is what I'm trying to share. So the progress that both teams are making is absolutely phenomenal. And they both coaches take different approaches. One spends more time on deliberate progressive practice, which I do, and Tom spends more time on letting the game teach. And I think Cassie's add value because she's brought some focus on individual skill work that shooting off the front foot. I was really glad to hear that she's doing that. So I might put it to the test tonight when they take the second phase and go all the way down the ice to shoot on the goalie at the other end. Okay, Hal.
Well, I think you're right. I also, you know, you got to look at the players you have and what their tendencies are. And the reason we went to 3 seconds, because I had a couple of kids that'll spend 45 seconds, you know, just dangling and toe dragging and screwing around. And so I had to force them. So the rest of the kids, you know, I mean, if you played with a kid like that, how hard are you going to work to get open? Because you know he's not going to pass it to you. And so you have to, with this group of kids, I had to do that. And then as they get better at it, then we start changing, like you talk about, we progress the drill to a different level, because now we've sort of got this idea. And one of the things I always preach constantly is, you know, shoot on a moving goaltender. And they all get that whole idea. And, you know, we got to make that goalie move, or, you know, the goalie's going to win that battle most of the time. And, you know, if people don't believe it, just look out the statistics on the shootouts in the NHL. Goalies win most of those battles. when they've got a clean look and they don't, these guys don't make a move. It's hard to make a move when you're one-on-one, but two-on-one, you should score a lot of goals two-on-one. So anyways, just a little more comment on top of what you're talking about. It's all good stuff. And I think you have to adapt it to the team you have and the ability you have and what their tendencies are.
Good point, Al. Tim?
Yeah, just I gotta run here, guys. I gotta Zoom with Peter Smith. But hey, Tom, one of the other things I learned pretty quickly, especially with the UFC girls, Danish girls too, like if you're playing the two-touch botchko, with across ice or whatever, we always tell them, like, if you have a breakaway, have at it, do whatever you want. You can touch it as many times as you want. But we do play the game telling them you got to score on a one-timer to help them get over. That's a little difficult with the two-touch. We usually just do that with like we've talked about before, the regular cross-ice game, but you can add that in. But just, if they get in a breakaway and they're only allowed the two touches, it's a little bit restricting and frustrating for them. So we usually add that.
Good.
Yeah, we have a whole progression of like we kind of start off to get their heads up and get people supporting the puck, that there has to be at least one pass made in each zone, like if we're doing full ice. And we even combine with the other team and do that. And I have a duck call that I blow, that if they don't make that pass, the other team gets the puck. And then go to the 3-second game, and that can be, in one zone or whole ice, and 2-second game. And the last practice we had, I like this game. The nets are at the top of the circles. There's 2 players in each team behind the net. They're jokers, and it was 4-on-4. And they have to pass to a joker before they're on offense. And then that's kind of the template for the game. And that we added the rule: goals have to be either on one-timers or catch and release. So no dusting the puck. And, that went pretty well. So I think, and then I think the next progression is like Cassie wants to do the botchko tonight. So it's all a process, as we all know, right? And every kid catches on a little bit differently.
I got something I want to discuss. Hal, you had mentioned the time limit, and because of the player who dangled and wanted a toe drag, and that's sort of the biggest dilemma up here, especially in guys hockey. They just don't know how to use each other.
Right.
And but one of the things that I find that Alan Andrews does, whole ice hockey U9 back in his day, and I think every one of you coaching at the level you coached at has had to go through this frustration. There's a player open ahead of you and they don't pass it to them. So Al Andrews with his U9 team has a head man rule. Tom has the duck call, makes them aware. But the head man rule, sequence of delivery consistency, determines a coach's success in earning the trust and respect of the whole team for reinforcing the unselfish, proper play of head manning. So the steps are: number 1, before the season, before the first game, this is a cardinal rule. If somebody is open ahead of you up the ice, we must headman the puck. Nobody can carry the puck as fast as you can pass it. And don't slow down the game. The rationale, you can tell or sell, or you can ask them, why do we want you to do this? And then when it happens on the ice, the first time is to talk to them, to see if they're making eye contact and nodding in agreement, to knowing the rule. The second time it happens, they're going to sit a shift. And they're telling the parents this rule that you've told the parents. The third time it happens, it could be a period. So the reinforcement of that is that to me is the cardinal part of the game. I love them dangling and toe dragging, and they're doing amazing things. They're able to take risks that heck we couldn't even think of taking. We were going to turn the puck over, but there's situations where moving the puck precedes that. So, Hal, did you have another point there?
Well, I just wanted to reinforce that because the player we've had the problem with, we actually ended up suspending him 3 or 4 games in the middle of the season because he just wouldn't play with the rest of the kids. And then he came back and he's been better. And then we moved him to defense. And he's a whole different player. And he's made the team better now because he is skilled. He's got great hands and he sees stuff. But when we put him in a role where he has to move the puck, because that's his job now, he's made the team a heck of a lot better. But last night we played and we were behind, and all of a sudden he started to grab the puck and take off and go up ice. And he's trying to stick handle through 2 or 3 people. He gets knocked down, and then he trips the guy that knocks him down. So we had a little conversation after the game last night that was unacceptable. And so we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I think we have to have these rules and we have to enforce them. We forced them hard on him early this year. And
yeah.
I don't know that he's reformed, but he is when I'm in the locker room and when I'm on the bench. So thanks, Wally. Hey guys, I got to run. Thank you. Look forward to catching up with you next week.
Okay, Hal, take care. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, you
Good
guys
luck.
too. Yeah, thank you.
Michael, are you still with us? Jordan, are you still with us?
Like yet. Peter is, Jordan is. I don't know.
Okay, this dealing with things consistently, and I call them cardinals, and you can see my religious upbringing here on the cross behind my picture. The word cardinal, it's sort of a reinforcement of something that's considered respectful and accepted. I really believe at competitive levels, and Tom, you're not at a competitive level yet, but Bantam AAA next year, if they're not moving the puck ahead, that has to be addressed. And they have to learn that. And right now, they're passing ahead of them more often than they have been, but they just don't quite at your age recognize people are open. And
there's a lot of players I found, and even about what Peter said about, or Hal said about the player playing defense.
Yeah.
A lot of players see the players in front of them,
yeah,
but they don't see players, parallel to them.
Yeah.
Like we'll get 2-on-1s, and
good point.
They
Good point. Yeah.
Going up ice, but they don't take a look beside or behind them.
Yeah.
To the trailer. And I think that's the next level of awareness is, seeing players that aren't in front of them.
Good point. One of the things, Peter, you got your hand up. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, I think along with that, what Tom's talking about is what I see is even at the higher levels, trying to teach the players to see through the layers. Right. They see an opponent, or they see their teammate, I should say, in open space, but it takes time for them to learn to pay attention to what is in between you and that player. Just because that player is in open space doesn't mean it's a good idea to move the puck to them. You know, they don't see through the layers of where the opponent may be in that passing lane. And likewise, the teammate perhaps doesn't see that, well, that I'm where I am, I'm physically on open ice. However, I'm not in a position where that player can successfully get me the puck. I'm not really available for that pass. I'm in an open ice area,
Between
but
being alone and being open, right?
yeah, right, exactly. There's somebody in the way. So teaching them to see through the layers on both ends of it, I think is really important when you're talking about headmatting that puck and making that pass. Knowing the difference between being open, quote, like Tom's talking about, right, and being available, right? They're two different things.
How do you teach that?
I mean, we've always taught it with drills that include some sort of obstacle first, some sort of stationary obstacle. Like maybe you might put tires or cones in a zone as they skate through, and they have to find a way to pass through the cones, past the tire. Likewise, that player on the other end has to get in a position where their stick is an actual target and it is available. And then you begin to progress to adding that to your small games, your small area competitions, where similar to what you're talking about, like the sort of that the kind of the two-touch, one-touch passing where I'm catching it, I'm moving it quickly. Well, I can't move it quickly, and someone else was talking about it. I can't move it quickly if you're not in a position to receive it. So it's actual, the fundamentals I like to teach is with something stationary, so they get the idea that things are in the way, especially at the younger levels, and then progress it from there.
Peter, I like the term
Right there.
availability because the Quebec Federation 40 years ago created that term. We'd all been talking getting open, and availability is the same, really. They've got to see that you're available to pass to. So the teaching progression I recommend at a U9 level is a box support drill. And I've talked about it before. 3 players standing in a box. There's 4 pylons, about the size of a circle, the box, a coach in the middle. And they're passing. The players are handling the puck and passing to a player with the coach in the middle. And somebody has to move to an open lane to be available for the pass. And I have a video of it, a diagram of it. This to me is something Tom's team can do and it would benefit from. Wes's team could do and it could benefit from. It's almost too much of a regression. You can play these games and, 3-second passing, but I think there's a right time to do this fundamental thing, and it might be U9 or U11, but it's got to be done.
No, I like that with adding the play with a coach in the middle. I've done it with the cones, just with the rule that you can't pass diagonally through the middle. So someone always has to be moving with the 4 cones and the 3 players. Someone has to always be moving to an open spot in order to make that lateral or vertical pass, but you can't make a diagonal pass. But I love the thought of adding the coach to sort of force them to keep moving in order to make themselves available.
See, the good thing about that, Peter, when you just say diagonal, well, the guy's actually open. But when you stand there, are they open? No, they can see they're not open. So I coach the coach first in that drill. And I did this with Ryan at P3 Sports, and he wasn't accomplishing the purpose of the drill. They were passing, and the player was, they didn't get it until he realized the progression is coach in the middle before, and then you can play pig in the middle. 3 on the outside and 1 in the middle. And they can move whichever way they want, but they got to be open. So that's what I mean by teaching progression. So when I do this 2-on-0, 2-on-1 tonight, I do it for the coaches, not the players, because the teaching progressions of the details that we need to pay attention to is going to determine whether the kids get it or not. So that's what I'm spending all my time in. You know, I come from a generation here where that's all we did. We didn't let them play as much. We didn't give them freedom. We taught them what to do, told them what to do. And right now, like Alan Andrews said with his U9s for 40 years, we've underestimated their capacity to perform. So I really think we're just beginning to tap into that reservoir of intelligence. And it's a good time to be making change in the way we coach. So, Michael, how's life in your hockey world out there? You're busier than hell, no doubt.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's good to be busy, I guess. Yeah, it's been doing a lot of programming, and it's silly season right now with people having tryouts and team selections and everything like that. So I'm trying to convince I don't know, maybe 6 organizations now to eliminate the tryouts and to just do placement.